What's up, everybody? We are back for another edition of the Nerdthusiast Poker Podcast, live here from the command center.
It's been a minute,
but we're together here. Today is actually our Poker League Championship, so
I got my donkey shirt on, so I'm ready. I'm ready to troll everybody here today.
So yeah, we're today is our Poker League Championship. We play every month with a group of guys, and our top players go to Vegas every year, so we're getting ready for that. But speaking of Vegas and things happening in Vegas this year, we're bringing on our guest, Robbie Strazynski. He is the founder of the Mexed Festival, Cardplayer Lifestyle magazine, and we're really glad to have you on here. I know we've been talking for a while, so thanks for coming on, Robbie.
Thanks for having me on. Nice to see you. Nice to see you, Anthony. How you guys doing today?
Good.
I think the last time we had you on, we had like a live spaces going on.
Yeah, I remember that.
And we ran into a bunch of technical difficulties. We kept disconnected, connected, reconnected. But that was the last time you had the mixed game festival, which we kind of followed up with you on the side. It was a huge success. So we're looking forward to similar outcome with this one, right?
Yeah, I hope so. I mean, hopefully an even better outcome.
Yeah, even bigger, right?
Before we jump into that, the new event, I want to start from the beginning because there's probably a lot of people out here who want to kind of know your background story about Cardplayer Lifestyle. Like, let's start from the beginning, man. How did you get into poker, and where did it take you on that path?
Cool. Well, I mean, I got into poker when I was a little kid. My dad taught me, typical around the kitchen table. I was like maybe 7, 8 years old. So I guess I've been playing poker for close to 35 years then. And he taught me like 7-card stud. That was the first game I learned. And, it was always cool. He had his poker night with his buddies and it rotated. So whenever it came to our house, it was always like in the back. We had a little room above the garage. And I used to like walk up there. I'd find any excuse to go there because I wanted to see the poker. I was like, can I bring dad a drink? Can I bring him food? Something like that. And I always like linger a little too long. So I was always into it, and I grew up in LA. We used to go to 4 or 5 times a year to Vegas. So it's kind of like in my blood in a way. First time I played for actual money, my dad said, "Okay, come join us." I was 16 years old, and in his little home game, and I lost $90. It might as well have been $1 million. Because it wasn't my money. He's like, don't worry, it's fine. But beyond that, I'm also kind of a product of the moneymaker era when it came on ESPN, and I started seeing it like everyone else. That's when I really got into it more. But the love definitely goes back to when I was a kid. I started my site just kind of like on a whim. A buddy of mine, he was like, maybe we should start a blog about poker. So I was like, why? He says, we can make a little money. I'm like, oh, okay. I was like, I don't know what to do. He's like, well, I know the back end stuff, and writing, and poker, so let's try it. That's basically the humble origin story. We picked the domain because it was free, cardplayerlifestyle.com. We're only a digital publication. It's always been since then. No physical. We're not Card Player magazine. They're different. We love them. They love us. It's all good. Back for the first 2 years of that, I was basically learning the stuff that he knows, like search engine optimization and how to craft a website and put content online.
Robbie, what year did you start this about?
This was November 2009 is when the site went live. And I'd say first quarter of 2011 is when I bought my partner out because he wasn't interested in it anymore. And I was like, who knows what this might amount to? And it was always like a nights and weekends thing, like a side gig, maybe make a little extra money on the side. But what happened is organically, as the more I began writing, the more I actually attracted an audience. Like, hey, people are interested in what I have to say. And I got to know more people, all that kind of stuff. It got to the point in March 2017 where I'm like, well, if this is the kind of traffic and revenue I could bring in, working on this nights and weekends after I get home from work, maybe let's jump in full time. Maybe it might work. And so we took a leap of faith and haven't looked back since. Thank God. I'm self-employed and really, really happy and excited always to be doing what I love, which is being in social media.
That's the dream, man. That's the dream right there.
It's funny you say that though, because Anthony and I, we've been doing the poker podcast now for it'll be 2 years, and we got into it kind of like a similar like starting point. Like we
Uh-huh.
both really love the game. We both really love talking about the game. And we might not be like well-known people in the poker world or whatever.
Yet, it's coming.
Yeah.
But that's the thing. Like we're doing it because we enjoy it, and it's not work for us. Like it's not. It hasn't become that yet. When for you did it transition? Like I know starting out it was probably like more of a hobby than work. Like how many years did you put into the blog until it really kind of like skyrocketed off? Give us a little bit of perspective.
That's a good question. I mean, again, like the origin, it was never a goal of, oh, I'm going to go and do this for a living someday. It's like, this is enjoyable. Now that hasn't stopped. It's still just as enjoyable. And I love that. Of course I work and I work hard, but if I was an employee, this is what I would be filling my time with on the side. This is what I want to do anyway. So sure, there are some things that are genuinely hard work, nitty gritty stuff, but I don't consider it work. How much time? It just sort of like gradually increased. In the beginning, I was putting one post per week. Now it's like sometimes you have 3 or 4 in a day. Usually on average, it's like 30 to 40 per month. And it's not, and also it just used to be exclusively me doing all the writing. Eventually I sort of realized like, okay, you've got your voice and that's good, but there's only so many hours in the day, and you on your own limited capacity, even if you're the best in the world, you'll hit a ceiling. You got to bring more voices in. And that kind of like realization, I think, was a very big one. And me being able to say, okay, I'm not just a poker writer, but I own this platform that I've created. And here's an opportunity to give voice to a whole bunch of other freelance writers. We've had dozens of freelance writers, come through our doors, as it were. I still have no employees, but the fact that Cardplayer Lifestyle can be a platform where, pretty much anyone from their own different perspectives, wherever they live in the world, men, women, people of minorities, everything. We've had them writing for us, and I think that definitely broadens the appeal of the type of content we put out there. So, not necessarily a direct answer to your question there, but
no, it's good. Yeah,
the growth has been organic, basically, and I never came into this with like a business plan, or it was just keep doing what you're doing, and hopefully the people will keep on coming, and it's worked, which is good.
Yeah, good.
Yeah. So okay, let's bring it forward now. Now, how did the Mixed Games Festival come about? Where did this come from?
Okay, also kind of like accidental origins in a way. So I had worked for 3 summers, while I was already independent. So this is 2017, 18, 19. I was working with Poker Go. They are the production team that gets the main event televised and broadcast. So they needed extra hands on deck because they expanded their coverage to starting from day 1 from 2017. So they had asked me, hey, you free, you available? And I was like, yeah, this is a great opportunity. It's wonderful. After 3 summers of doing it, I was like, okay, you know what? Thankfully, my site, continues to grow. It's hard to do that simultaneously with this extra position with them. And I told my wife, Miriam, I'm like, I think next summer, I'm done and I'll just do my own thing. She says, well, if you want to go back to the World Series, you better figure out a way to make money. Like, it's not a given. It's not a given that I could just take this
like
time
a true
off.
wife.
True wife. That's a true wife right there.
But you know what? She's right. Like, that's what I'm saying. Like, without that, the Mixed Game Festival doesn't happen. So basically, like, my wheels sort of started turning, and I was like, look, I like playing mixed games, and every so often it was like a known thing, like some dealers, some media folks, you get together spontaneously and play like a 4-8 mix during the World Series because we're all there. And I was like, maybe if we make this a thing, like enough people like mixed games, but I think the trick is, it's not like Hold'em, you just have lists everywhere and games going. You need to get them all together. That's the hard part, putting that snowball together. But if you announce it in advance, hey, we're going to have this thing going day after day after day. If you're interested in it, come. That, I was like, it might be worth a shot. And Miriam's like, well, if you can figure out how to make money from that, then fine. And then it was all about, trying to approach a venue, trying to get some sponsors. And at the time, the first venue that I said, okay, this might work, it was a small little venue, Westgate, out in Las Vegas. It's where I'd played before, and I was like, I don't know if this will be a hit or a miss. Let's try it. And they're like, yeah, sure, sounds good. So I was like, amazing, we got a venue, right? And so that means I can make a little money off of it. So that, the box was ticked. And I was like, well, it'd be pretty cool. Like, let's create something that if someone else had it, I'd love to attend. So I approached, through media, through working, in the poker industry for a while. I know a lot of people, and I reached out to contacts of mine at PokerStars. I said, would you guys be interested in sponsoring this? And they're like, how would you like a platinum pass to give away?
Yeah, that was a big. I remember seeing that, and I was like, "Dude, that's huge."
And credit, I'll give her the credit. Rebecca McAdams, she was working with them at the time, and it was just like the stars aligning, pun not intended, in that way, where all this brand new thing, having a platinum pass to give away, and spoiler alert. We were supposed to announce this in March 2020 for summer 2020. We all know what happened. So I was holding on to this. I was 24 hours away from announcing it. I was holding on to that for a year and a half till we finally put the festival on, and it ended up being that I, even extra attention, the first platinum pass given away in a year and a half. So everything went well, and marketer's dream, who wins the first one? Greg Raymer, the Fossil Man. You know what I mean? So what a way to kick it off, and now we're coming up on Mixed Game Festival 8 coming up this summer.
That's awesome. So I've attended one of yours out in Vegas, and I love playing mixed games. I'm a huge fan of them. But
you're pretty good, if I remember. You walked away with quite a few chips.
Yeah, I did pretty good when I was out there. But the thing about it is, I'm not a high limit mixed game. And so on the East Coast here, the problem is if you want to play mixed games on the East Coast, most of them are high limit games. And they're a little bit out of my reach. And that's one thing I love about your festival is you have the full range. And I tell people this, I'm like, listen, if you want to learn mixed games, this is the cheapest way you're going to learn because you guys have games where you can buy them for literally $100 cash. And what is also great about your festival is it is so friendly. Everyone's there to kind of like hang out and help each other out. I mean, obviously not collusion, but like there's been guys when I was there, they would sit down and like, I don't know how to play this game. And people were like, all right, they're explaining hand by hand, step by step. Not showing each other's cards, but like, hey, this is what's happening here. This is what happens in this game. And it's a great place for people to like jump into mixed games. I mean, it's a great place to learn.
Absolutely.
I'm trying to get this guy out the one.
So I keep hearing the bonuses going off. Where are you right now? I keep hearing someone getting a bonus game on the slot. My skin's tingling.
So I'm actually in Montreal right now at the moment, coming to you from occasionally I get the opportunity to go and cover live events. So I'm here for the WPT Montreal. They just started day 2 of the championship event. A lot of good stuff going on here. So I was like, by day I'm the reporter, by night I'm the mixed game guy. So got these multiple hats.
Awesome. Yeah, I looked at the dates, and we'll go over that. I'm actually going to be out there for this one. I think the last one he had, I intended on going, but it was the last day of the festival was the day that I was coming in. But yeah, let's go over.
Let's talk about this one coming up because I mean, exciting new venue as well happening for the first time. So pretty big news there as well. So let's talk about it.
It's huge, yeah. So the dates are June 16th through 20th, and we're gonna be at it sounds so like corporate, but it really is the 5-star fabulous Bellagio. I am super thrilled and super kudos to Sean McCormick and to Craig Larson for inviting me to host the Mixed Game Festival there. We've had Mixed Game Festivals during the World Series in the past, and it's tricky because on the one hand, you have that thing of like everyone's in town. It's the perfect time to host. But the other side of that, from the operators, from the venue standpoint, is space is at a premium because like everyone's playing poker, the rooms are jam-packed. So we wouldn't want to necessarily take up tables that would otherwise be filled, so to speak. But at the end of the day, it takes like a buy-in of sorts from the operator. And thankfully, Sean, Craig, the Bellagio, they realized that, hey, it's important to also promote non-hold'em games. And yes, even at the grassroots level, even if it's not going to be a 300, 600 game, there's room for that within poker, and that is how we kind of grow the game organically. Eventually, these guys, they'll be like, hey, this is awesome. They will be winning. They will be moving up. And even if not, it's really easy to sell them, hey, come on back when your $100 or your $200 has lasted you all day long. You don't lose it in 2 seconds. Like, you may walk up to No Limit Hold'em and you're done because someone got lucky or you messed up, and that's it. Money's gone. But this money could, you get tremendous bang for your buck in mixed games. I'll talk more about the sponsors too. That's a separate thing, but Bellagio, 5 days, Sunday through Thursday. It's basically like with all the tournaments going around in Las Vegas, anywhere you want, there's a tournament, we'll be that place where you take a break from the tournament grind. We're literally right across the street. I hear something's big going on at Horseshoe Paris. I don't know what it is, but something's going on over there. But it's like come take a break, before, after you win your bracelet, whatever it is, come chill with us. You might win dozens of dollars, but we'll have a great time and get some free merch probably.
I think the other cool thing is you do something fun usually like every day. Like I remember you did like a trivia day. I was a big fan. You had the pizza day. You had free pizza for everyone. I was like, yes, I'm in on that. Like, weird. So, the Italian all in on the pizza. Let's go.
So pizza's definitely happening on opening day. That's the kickoff pizza party at noon on the 16th of June. I don't yet have anything else officially scheduled per day. It's a little tricky because you know how it is at the World Series. If you've been around, oh, sure, I'll meet you. Everyone's busy doing 1,000 things. So it's a little tough to tie people down to commit. But I do know, I can't announce who exactly yet. People who are known, pretty well known, will be coming in. They just can't say what day, what time. We may or may not have a book signing or two. It just, I don't want to announce it and then have to rescind the announcement. But you can expect that kind of stuff to happen and, see some people who you know. And plus, I will say, one thing we are doing every single day, our big sponsor is the Moneymaker Tour. So kudos and thanks to Chris Moneymaker and Tony Burns. He's the executive director there. Basically, we're going to be giving away every single day a seat to a Moneymaker Tour side event. And they've got their next thing coming up at MGM. So like literally, if you win this seat, you can like redeem it within a couple weeks and play over there. I think it's June 28th. To July 6th, I think are their dates there.
It gives you an excuse to get back in the Vegas. So you leave, and you're like, babe, I gotta go back to Vegas.
What do I gotta do?
I want to see it. I gotta go back. Sorry.
And we're gonna give it away in fun ways. I say at some point, I'm not gonna make sure people just show up for that, but at some point before 7 p.m. every day, we're gonna do a random table and seat draw. You get selected, I'm gonna come up to you and I'm gonna ask you like a trivia question about Chris Moneymaker. And if you get it right, it'll be multiple choice. Don't worry. If you get it right, then you win the seat. If not, the next person gets a chance. So, it's all about having fun. And, if we're calling it a mixed game festival, it's got to be festive. And I believe these are the kinds of things that, add to that sort of atmosphere and ambiance.
I was going to say that was another cool aspect when I was out there is that, you're playing kind of like they have, you have the different limits, but like the limit games I was playing, again, for a couple $100, I was playing with Greg Raymer. I was playing with Elia Lesra showed up the one day. He's playing, like, where do you get the chances to play with someone like that for $300? I'm like, dude, this is awesome. Like, you know what I mean? Like, just an experience of like, and then I seen that Jonathan Little's been there before, Chris Moneymaker, like some really big names on the lower levels just hanging out. And it's like, it feels to me like this, like my home game behind me right now, like that's what it felt like. Like we're all joking around and no one's losing their shirts. It's like, it's just a fun bunch of guys and girls just hanging out, having fun.
I mean, I can't copyright it, the phrase, but someone did say it's like the world's largest home game. And if that's what people are feeling, then, to me, it's a success. And, again, it's like some people are like, oh, is there going to be a 2040 running? Like, sure, higher limits available upon request, but at the end of the day, it really is a grassroots kind of initiative to have fun, grow the games, and get people also, I won't say weaned off of Hold'em. Hold'em's always going to be there, always going to be the most popular, but to also realize there's other non-Hold'em games out there that you can enjoy. They'll challenge the brain. And again, especially if you're, more conservative on the bankroll side, it won't cost you an arm and a leg. It'll take you many, many, many mistakes and suckouts to lose that first buy-in rather than, oops, Yeah, that is what we're trying to do over there, and hopefully we'll see another successful event this summer.
Well, I know some of our guys, including Brian from Nerdthusiast, and some of our guys from our poker league, will be out there. So hopefully, get some pictures and
yeah. It's funny because last time I missed it, but this time it's like right smack dab in the middle of my trip. So
Awesome.
I don't see any reason why I wouldn't be able to come through. And I mean, like you said before, Bellagio is right there, right in the heart of the strip. It's right across the street. It's a beautiful room. I don't know if you've been, right?
Yeah,
you played in
yeah,
there.
Of course.
That's awesome for you guys. Congratulations.
Thank you. I appreciate it. And look, again, kudos to Bellagio. Someone had said, since when does Bellagio care about low stakes mix? That's honestly something that Bellagio wants to try and fix because they're known, obviously, the home of Legends Room, formerly Bobby's Room, super high class establishment, best dealers, the whole 9 yards. But they said we may have strayed away a little bit from the fact that, yeah, we do offer all the games at all the limits, and they kind of want to get back into that as well. And again, it takes them stepping out to do so. The fact of the matter is, any room understands you're going to deal 30 hands an hour playing Hold'em. You'll deal 20 with a mixed game, so that's less rank. So they understand that. But they also understand the long-term game here. If we get people coming in who enjoy mixed games, who enjoy what Bellagio has to offer, they'll keep coming back over and over again. And they'll get their rake and they'll have their fun and everybody wins. You know what I mean? So, and also scheduling-wise, as you pointed out, Matt, especially during the World Series, it's a tricky thing. So, the fact that it all kind of worked out and they said, yeah, those 5 days are free. There's relatively little competition for lower stakes mixed game tournaments at the time. There's a 10K horse, okay, but that's not our target audience. There's a 250 horse on a Monday. Like there's one tournament maybe every day around town, whether it's before or after you bust, or instead, if you don't want to play tournaments, you play cash games, will be that destination at Bellagio.
So my last question for the mixed games: when are you coming to the East Coast? That's what we want to know.
Last time.
Yeah.
I understand you guys are familiar with a little property there called Borgata, right?
Yes. Yeah, we have some connections, so maybe we can.
We might be able to put you in touch with someone.
Yeah, we might be able to make some contacts for you, make it happen, man. Because I would love to see it. Borgata actually has on the weekends. They do have stud. There's a lot of stud players in the area.
Yep.
They do run the horse events during their series and things like that. So they are around. The mixed game players are here. We just got to get them connected.
Exactly. So I think it's the tricky part again is like a couple things. Number one, there's got to be that value add. So the fact that it's happening at all, that it would happen, I think is the value add for East Coast because it just doesn't happen there. But you don't have that same exact Vegas thing. I can't promise you that poker celebrities are going to be walking through the door, but we can still apply all of the bells and whistles, that sort of stuff. It's just a matter of sort of planning ahead and a venue getting on board and giving it a try. And I also don't, it's not a copy paste thing that I know for sure will work. We tried it once outside of Las Vegas in Malta, where there was a big poker festival going on there, and it ticked a lot of boxes. And even so, like we had one tournament, we attracted 49 players on a random Tuesday in Malta, which not bad at all, but I'd love to see double that. We attracted one table, but it was going 18 hours a day for 5 days straight. And it wasn't the same people there, obviously. So each kind of destination has its own metrics for success. Running one during the World Series is very different than running one like in late February in Las Vegas. So all the stars really, it's got to be planned out well. And like I said, I'm not necessarily a professional live event scheduler, but as I get more experience and get to know more people, hopefully we'll be able to bring the Mixed Game Festival goodness to the East Coast, to Atlantic City, and hopefully other destinations as well.
Okay.
I mean, I think you have your work cut out for you in Bellagio, but there isn't a time that I've gone to play there that I didn't wait to sit down. So that room is pretty much packed from open to close. So there's going to be a lot of people looking to sit down and probably get in with the mixed game.
Sure. So what I'll say, and I'll put the chat out, anyone listening, if you're planning on coming, we are starting every day at noon. And I've been told in no uncertain terms, by 2, the room is basically full for sure.
Yeah.
Every day. That's what they've told me. So I will say, and like we have a certain number of tables that they're giving us to start out. But if lots of mixed game folks come in early at noon, we'll have even more tables, and they will remain full. So come, show up in force, and show up on time, folks, at noon every day, June 16th to the 20th.
Awesome. You have anything else you want to ask about me?
Yeah, so Anthony and I, like we kind of already mentioned, we kind of grew up in the moneymaker boom as well. We're only a couple years younger than you are. Our room was the Taj back in the day. That was where we kind of cut our teeth, if you will, on some of the mixed games, mostly some 7-card stud. Outside of, I'd say, Hold'em, I feel like that's probably most people's favorites. Maybe I'm just speaking out of turn, but what is your favorite mixed game to play when you have the time to sit down and get a session in?
I have, 2 or maybe 2A. So I've got Deuce 7 triple draw. I love it. And Stud 8. Like, to me, it's one. I mean, they're 2 very different games, but I love them both equally. So, a Stud 8 or a Stud and a Deuce 7, they're always going to be part of a mix that I'm in, so long as I have something to say about it. But, I mean, it's relatively rare that there will be a game that I don't like. I mean, if it has if it has if they start inventing, okay, and then if a Jack of Hearts comes on the turn, then you eliminate the third board from the left. I mean, that's a bit much, and pass your cards to the guy on the right. So so too many tweaks and permutations, a bit much, but pretty much anything I'll be on board with, and I'll also say to the no limit Hold'em purists out there, and maybe you'll dabble a little PLO. You have a lot more, in my opinion, brain elasticity when you play mixed games. Let's say let's say Deuce 7 triple draw, 7-card stud, and obviously Hold'em or Omaha. Those are the 3 categories of games: your draw game, your stud game, your flop game. And once you've kind of understood that there are 3 categories of games, whatever little permutations come from it, you'll be able to wrap your head around pretty quickly. And that also goes for the dealers, that they'll say, well, we don't know how to do drama hop. So I'll say, no problem, we'll guide you through it. Like Anthony had said, we're all helping each other out. And within 1 or 2 hands of it, any drama hop permutation, they know what they're doing. They understand. So it's just a matter of having a little bit more patience, because Hold'em is 5 minutes to learn, a lifetime to master. Next game's maybe like 5 minutes per game, and there's a lot of games, but you can do it and still not master it, but have a great time playing it.
I'm gonna jump in. We had we put it on Twitter. We had a question from Pierre, one of our buddies. He said he had a question for you. He said, "What's the best mixed game?" You kind of sort of answered this, but what's the best mixed game to start if you're only a Hold'em player? So, what would you recommend starting?
That's actually pretty easy. I'd say Horse, the 5-game Horse mix, because 2 of the games pretty much they're flop games. One is Limit Hold'em, okay, it's Age. Omaha, regular plain old Omaha. So those are both flop games, and if you played Hold'em, you played PLO, those are actually easier because it's limit games. So that's 2 out of the 5 right there. And Horse usually comes in a tournament setting. So for an $80 horse or a $150 horse, if you can find something like that, play that. And then the other 3 games are for Raz, which is a stud game, S for Stud, which is what do you call it? It's a 7-card stud. And then E is Stud 8 or better. So there's 3 stud games in there and 2 flop games. We can get to the draw games later. Then we get to an 8-game mix that you bring in the Deuce 7 triple draw. But if you just want to dip your toes into the non-Hold'em, non-PLO streets, Horse is the way to go. Good question, Pierre.
Gotcha. Last thing I want to talk about, I know, some people know on Twitter or social media, you're currently living in Israel right now, right? I'm kind of switching topics up here a lot.
Sure.
If you don't mind me asking, what's going on over there? What's been your experience so far with everything happening in the world right now?
Yeah, no worries. I appreciate you asking, and I'm always an open book when it comes to that stuff. And I've been living there. I moved from Los Angeles right after high school, so I've been there since '98, so almost 26 years living in Israel. Look, the news tends to have a very zoomed-in lens. I'm not living personally. I'm about 80 miles from the Gaza Strip, where I live, so it's not on the front lines. Although plenty of people live 80-mile commute from work, I guess. So it's all relative. The effects that we see are kind of like secondary. I know a lot of people who are in IDF reserve units. I know people whose kids are in IDF reserve units. I've got a couple of brothers-in-law who serve. A friend of mine, he's an ENT by day, and he, works on search and rescue helicopters as a doctor. When he's called into reserve duty. So, very aware, obviously, of everything that's going on. My family was just kind of living as regular a life as possible under the circumstances, with the understanding that there's obviously tension. And look, at the end of the day, we just want to go about our lives and just live peacefully. And if we would put down our weapons, that would be bad. If they'd stop attacking us, there'd be peace tomorrow. You know what I mean? So that's kind of that's my personal view. Can't speak for everybody, but that's kind of like anyone who really understands what's going on, and not just what you're hearing in the news, and you read things with a critical eye. It's kind of like it's pretty obvious here, what cause each side is fighting for, in my opinion. And frankly, I'm grateful that the fact that I travel abroad, that's kind of me putting on my little uniform of like, sure, I do poker, but I get to tell my story of regular people, going to do their laundry, go shopping, and just trying to get by. I mean, there's plenty of people in Israel, and I don't want to like diminish this at all, whose lives have really been upended. Obviously, if they're directly touched by tragedy, but 120,000 people who have been displaced from their homes in the north, where Hezbollah is firing rockets nonstop, day in and day out. 7 months, they're not able to live in their own house. That sucks. You know what I mean? And we just kind of want that to end and people to get back to living their regular lives. We can stop with all the rallies and the protests. It's just like, you do your thing, we'll do our thing, and we can live side by side peacefully. We all kind of want that, but when they don't, and they want, from the Jordan River to the Mediterranean Sea, a land free of Jews, like that's not really going to work. We kind of have to like share this area in some way, shape, or form. So, I'm not going to get too deep in the weeds politically, but that's sort of my story. And anyone who comes up to me at events like these here in Montreal or in Vegas or whatever, ever wants to talk about it, I'm happy to sit with you and share what my life is like on a day-to-day basis, and how from my little living room I'm able to keep Cardplayer Lifestyle going, but also proudly live in Israel, the one true homeland of the Jewish people.
I think one thing that was an eye opener for me, I believe it was you that posted it. If I not, then I'm mistaken. But I remember when everything started going down over there. I think you put a post up like people in your neighborhood were like building things to like basically reinforce their doors or something along those lines, like door jams and stuff. And I was like, like how fast things get real, like quick. Like we're so comfortable sometimes, and then just like that, you're now prepping your house for the worst case scenario.
I'll tell you, like, I experienced that here just yesterday. It's the Sabbath. I don't work. I'm offline during the Sabbath for 25 hours. And I was just sort of sitting by the pool of the hotel, and it just thought kind of struck me, like, how nice not to have to worry that there's going to be, like, an air raid siren. You know what I mean? Like, it's just like a little thing like that. When everyone, the whole audience, like, read in the news, hey, Iran sent 300 projectiles, drones, and missiles and everything. So yeah, I lived through that, and we're just sitting huddled, and like, okay, whatever happens, kind of a thing, and hope for the best. But it is very real and very intense, and thank God, we kind of emerged essentially unscathed from that kind of an attack. You kind of say, again, we're not going to go too in the weeds, and I'm religious, I'm Orthodox, but like, however good our IDF and defense systems are, like, you just kind of, thank God, for the protection that nothing worse happens. So just hopefully we don't want to see anyone dying unless they are terrorists. And we all hope for better times ahead, and people can come and start visiting us again, and flights will be lower priced to get out and do these kind of events and all that other sort of stuff.
Yeah. Do you have any questions?
Nah, man, that was, pretty good. Just the whole experience of mixed game, good idea of what we're looking at come June, and then with the tragedies going on where you're living. Yeah, you said it. You take advantage of the times that you have, but then you don't realize until tragedy strikes that, man, a lot of us here in the States, especially, are are really fortunate to kind of not have to worry about those things. So my prayers are with you, your family, and anyone that you know that's on the front lines fighting this thing.
I appreciate that very much. Like it actually hit me one time I was in Vegas and like, I don't know, some college football game was on, and on the bottom of the ticker it says, 50 after the game, 50 hostages released. More on that later. It's like, oh yeah, because the game's going on. It's obviously not front and center. It's not important, but it's happening somewhere else. So just having that ability to talk to people, and frankly, the willingness of folks like yourselves and people who I meet to just like listen and get news from a different source and a different perspective, and sort of hear that, there's many, many, many faces to what's going on here, and not just what you see on a particular news website or broadcast on your screen. I'm grateful that people, listen to that and ask me questions. And frankly, sometimes the questions are very challenging, and it forces me to think and be open-minded about things. And, I'm happy to have those sorts of opportunities. So thanks for asking those questions, guys. And thanks as well for having me here on the new Nerdthusiast Podcast to talk about the Mixed Game Festival. I'm looking forward to meeting you in person, man.
We got one last question because Brian likes to ask this, and I know you're very orthodox, but he's going to ask you anyway.
You told me not to.
No, go ahead. Go.
All right, so, through and through, we all know that if you play poker, you have a little bit of gamble in you. Some people are strictly poker players. They don't have any outside vices that kind of tap into that bankroll. Every guest that we've had on, I'm always intrigued to ask them, like, other than poker, what is your biggest vice? Now, let me give you a little bit of context, right?
Okay.
We had Casey Mills on Poker Mama I'd say podcasts ago, and her vice was like shopping. One of her vices was spending too much money on like clothes and bags and things like that.
So it doesn't have
to be gambling related, but what is one of your, I would say, like bankroll leaks, if you will?
I'm going to give you the most boring possible answer. I genuinely don't have one. Poker is my vice. I live and breathe this stuff. But I will tell you like a little funny story, which definitely fits into the Nerdthusiast vibe here. Is so I am thankful I don't have no temptation for slot machines. Occasionally I'll put like a 20 into a video poker machine or go to a roulette wheel. I wouldn't consider that advice. I think that's totally normal, and like the idea is double or nothing, and that's fine. But so I got here and they have a new player sign up offer, right? So it says if you confirm the email address that you follow Playground on Instagram and on Facebook, you get $10 for each thing, so that's $30 in free play. And I go there to say, I'm here, a new player, get my free play. And they said, oh, be sure to come back at some point this next month. If you do, on your second visit, we'll give you another $25 in free play. I'm like, great, wonderful. So I come back the next day. I have $55 in free play. So they don't have like gaming tables here, but they have electronic roulette, right? So what I'm going to do is, okay, we'll put $55 into electronic roulette. And all I did, I said, I've got 11 bets here. I got 11 outside bets. Right? I shit you not. I don't know if I can say that, but like, I kid you not. Out of 11 bets, we ran up $55 in free play to 80 actual dollars. I mean, they're Canadian dollars, but they're still dollars. Yeah. So that was fun. I don't know. Again, not a vice, but that was a hell of a lot of fun to get like $80 in free play.
You're done. It's over. You're going to be at the roulette wheel. $25 goes over.
Where's Robbie at? He's at the roulette table.
Oh, I cashed out. That money is now part of the poker bankroll, man.
Okay. Nice.
Good question.
Well, thank you for coming on the show.
Yeah, thank you very much.
I'm not gonna be out there that week, but Brian's gonna be making an appearance representing our enthusiasts for you. I'll definitely be at a future game for sure. We'll make sure to tag your socials so everyone can follow you online. And you want to put your website out there one last time?
Sure. It's cardplayerlifestyle.com. If you guys visit the site, you can sign up for my newsletter. I send a couple of those out a month. And y'all can follow me on social at cardplayerlife. And the site has its own account at Poker Life Media. So definitely that's where to hear all of our upcoming announcements as relates to mixed game festivals and the like. A little mini scoop. I'm not going to tell you too much, but the next one after this is going to be in November, also in Las Vegas. That's all I'm going to say.
Ah, there we go. A little leak. I like it.
Well, there you go.
All right.
Always listen to the end.
Yes, thanks. Thank you for coming on. And guys, make sure you follow Nerdthusiast Poker Podcast. You can check us out on our YouTube channel with all our other Nerdthusiast stuff, including video games. We now have a movie podcast going with some new guys on there. We have a music podcast. You can also check us out on patreon.com/nerdthusiast. That does cost money, but you get everything ad-free ahead of time. So if you're a complete nerd and you want it right away, that's where you go for that stuff. But thanks, everyone, for hanging out, and we'll see you on the next one.
See you.